When I first watched True Detective Season 1 as a teenager, I was as shocked as many of you when this face reveal happened at the end of episode 7. I had seen the character before when Rust asked him a few questions but had to leave because Morty was calling him. Most of the viewers didn't figure out he would be the one the detectives were looking for, even though the creators of the show left this message. Ever since then, I try and watch True Detective and similar shows with utmost attention to detail to notice the little Easter eggs and the references. I did the same with Night Country. Even though I talked about little clues and references to Season 1 during my breakdown videos, I decided to do a big one where I go over every reference and Easter egg in the entire season. I'm sure you'll see some of the stuff you missed while you were watching Season 4. Let's start with episode 1 and find our way into the finale. Episode 1. The Spiral. Towards the end of episode 1, Danvers either intentionally or without realizing arranges various bits of evidence in a spiral shape on the ground. This was a callback to a recurring theme in the True Detective universe. The crooked spirals were seen in Season 3, but they were originally significant in Season 1 when the symbol first appeared on Dora Lang's back. The murderer himself, Errol Childress, also had the same symbol as a scar on his back. In Season 1, the spiral was used as a symbol of the pedophile ring. In the first episode of Night Country, the spiral appeared to be a minor callback to Season 1. But we would learn later that it would come to have deeper meanings as the episodes progressed. Blood Meridian. Another Easter egg from episode 1 is this book. One of the researchers was reading it before the big disappearance. This novel from 1985 is about a young man who joins a group of outlaws that kill Native Americans, while the researchers also ended up being a group that killed a Native American and others through their work. The names. Another reference, although not confirmed by the creators, is the name of Raymond Clark. In 2011, a Yale laboratory technician named Raymond Clark III pleaded guilty to the murder and attempted sexual assault of a woman called Annie Lay. You have to admit the similarity in the names of Annie Lay and Annie Kay. Speaking of names, the word Salal comes from a novel by Jules Verne, which is also set in a similar atmosphere, although in that book, Salal is an island where complications between the indigenous population and the newcomer white explorers arise. Jules Verne's book is actually a follow-up to Edgar Allan Poe's novel that came out in 1838. The Thing. A movie by John Carpenter can also be seen closely at Salal. The movie is about a group of scientists in Antarctica being terrorized by an alien. The Blue King is the name of the crab processing facility in Ennis. Does it remind you of anything? Like the Yellow King, for example? Lone Star Beer. Well, you have to remember the name of the beer Rust Cohle was drinking in the afternoon when he was being interrogated by the police. The same brand is seen at Salal in episode 1 next to a bowl of popcorn. The final reference in episode 1 is actually right at the beginning. I'm talking about the epigraph attributed to Hildred Castaigne. Well, Hildred is the protagonist of a short story found in Robert Chambers' The King in Yellow, which heavily influenced True Detective Season 1. Episode 2. Travis Cole. Another Season 1 reference happened in the second episode. Even though we saw Travis for the first time in episode 1, we learned his surname in episode 2. Apparently, Rose was romantically involved with Travis Cole, Rust Cohle's father. Rust said he was raised by his father in Alaska and that he died of leukemia. Tuttle. Season 1 references did not stop with the spiral, the drink, or the dad. The Tuttle group appeared to be funding Salal. If you remember, the Tuttles were the big influential family behind the pedophilic sex cult. To me, it made sense that a family like the Tuttles would fund researchers to find the cure to mortality, even though Nick Pizzolatto thought it was so stupid. More spirals. Remember a minute ago when I said the spiral could just be a simple callback to Season 1? Well, Episode 2 proved this wrong. The spiral was drawn on one corpse's head. Both Annie Kay and Raymond Clark had it as a tattoo on their body. Rose said that it's an ancient sign, which meant that it didn't necessarily have any relation to the spiral in season 1. The remaining episodes confirmed this. Asking the right questions. Well, we all know Rust's angry line aimed at his fellow officers.
And start asking the right fucking questions.
Chief Danvers repeats the same line in the second episode when she tells Pete that they are not asking the right questions. Episode 3. Oranges. In the episode, Navarro finds an orange dropped by the hillbillies helping with the search party for Raymond Clark. Later, when she drops the orange into the darkness, the fruit comes back to her. This could be a reference to Godfather when Don Corleone gets shot right after he buys a bag of oranges. They usually refer to impending death or tragedy. Navarro's sister Jules would also see one rolling back to her before she commits suicide later in the season. The Wheeler case. This is more like a similarity to season 1. We learned that Danvers and Navarro arrived at the home of an abuser named William Wheeler who was alive, but the man is killed by one of them as implied in the story. The two covered it up as suicide as we learn later. The same trope happened in season 1 when Marty killed Reggie Ledoux, but he and Rust covered it up as self-defense. Episode 4. Julia's suicide. Her suicide evokes the death of Virginia Woolf, as the writer had a book called To the Lighthouse, and Julia is admitted to a mental health facility called the Lighthouse. Virginia Woolf also drowned herself, and we see Julia walking into the sea to kill herself. And when Navarro goes to Kalvik's house, he is seen to have fallen asleep while reading Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Otis Heiss. Did you know this mysterious guy's surname means hot in German? Is that why he couldn't adapt himself to the night country? Moving on. Episode 5. The Dyatlov Pass. Well, the references to this incident actually start as soon as the show begins. A few people mysteriously got lost and died in cold conditions. But when the forensic report comes in episode 5, the reference is much clearer. Connolly says the researchers died due to a weather event, a slab avalanche. The same explanation was famously given for the Dyatlov Pass incident of 1959 when 9 Soviet hikers died in the cold under uncertain circumstances. The similarities are not restricted to the avalanche explanation, however. The hikers also had signs of physical trauma, missing eyes, a missing tongue, and more. Even more spirals. This time, spirals come with a potential explanation. Kalvik's Bro says that the sign is put near areas where the ice is thin, to warn hunters and others about the dangers that could happen if the ice is cracked. Episode 6. The Spiral Explained. There's an ancient creature frozen on the ice and it looks like a whale fossil, and of course, it's in the shape of a spiral. The same spiral is also put on Loon's forehead by the Justice Ladies. Here, it's not clear whether everyone in the show knew about the whale fossil and its spiral shape, and that's why they thought the shape was important. It could be related, but I think everyone really has a different meaning when it comes to the shape, since it's as old as time.
Time is a flat circle.
Well, he said the thing. Perhaps the most famous line from True Detective Season 1. It was first said by Reggie Ledoux right before he was killed by Marty. The line is repeated later by Rust himself as he talks to internal investigators.
Only time is a flat circle.
In Season 4, Raymond Clark uses it to mean that Annie is like a manifestation of a spirit that has lived for centuries and will for more. It does feel less impressive than Season 1. What do you think? Internal investigation. In the final episode of Night Country, there's an internal investigation on the whereabouts of Hank and Navarro, and it's Danvers who answers the questions, while dodging most of them by saying some questions don't have answers. This framing device was used for the majority of Season 1, with internal investigators thinking Rust was the murderer. Well, these are all the references and Easter eggs I could find. If I missed any, please let me know in the comments, along with any video requests you may have about True Detective and other shows. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to next season for more. See you soon.